In unserer letzten Folge am Freitag haben wir sehr ausführlich mit Mike Breen über die New York Knicks gesprochen und da schon angekündigt, dass wir das gesamte Interview euch zur Verfügung stellen. Das gibt's jetzt heute. Mike Breen, der ESPN Finals Kommentator, seit Jahren in der NBA, eigentlich die Stimme.
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Also er ist eine absolute Legende, der NBA-Kommentator überhaupt, kommentiert die Finals seit über 15 Jahren. Und es war ein wahnsinnig unterhaltsames Gespräch, eben nicht nur über die Knicks, sondern auch über Basketball, so ganz allgemein. Er ist einfach unheimlich nah dran an den Knicks, hat nochmal so einen ganz anderen Blickwinkel auf die Dinge. Und es war sehr, sehr interessant. Ich glaube, nicht nur für Knicks-Fans, sondern für Basketball-Fans ganz im Allgemeinen.
Also das ganze Interview jetzt. Popcorn raus, falls es euch gefällt. Abo dalassen, Like dalassen. Viel Spaß. Ballin.
Alles rund um die NBA.
Let's go.
Let's get it started. Last time the Knicks made the playoffs was 2013. So from the outside, a lot of chaotic things were going on in New York, like coaching changes, a lot of coaching changes, to be honest, bizarre trades and so on. But now at least I got the feeling for the first time in a long period, there's really hope around the Knicks. Right now, they placed 9th in the Eastern Conference, record 11 and 15. So completely in general, how would you rate the Knicks season after a third of the season so far?
Alex, you said the word that I've used over and over again this year for Knicks fans. There's now hope. And it's because every single night that they're taking the floor, you actually feel like they have a chance to win, even against the elite teams. And the number one reason is very simple. It's the new head coach. Tom Thibodeau is a no-nonsense, no-excuse coach who believes that if you play together as a team and you play for each other and you play hard, you have a chance every night to win. And you have to convey that belief to your team. And he's done that, and they've all bought in. And it's really been fun to watch because, you guys, that when you can have as much talent on one team as possible, but you can still be beaten by a group of 5 players who play together and can overcome that. It's still a team sport. And Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks are proving that. They're still under 500. They still have a long way to go. But they've taken a really nice step from being a team that everybody just counted out to a team now, if you don't come ready to play, you'll lose to them.
So you already mentioned Tom Thibodeau. You think he's the right guy for the Knicks? And how would you rate his impact already? Because when you look at some stats, like they're a top 5 defensive team, they are best defending shots from the field, shots from outside. They're incredibly good defensively, and last year they were only the 23rd best defensive team. So how would you rate his impact?
I think, Alex, he's the perfect fit because they needed a strong defensive base. That's where he made his reputation. He's more than just a defensive coach, but that's where his real strength is. And quite frankly, if you don't play defense for him, if you're not playing hard defensively, you won't play. And the players know that. And he doesn't care if you're an all-star. He doesn't care if you're a veteran. He doesn't care if you're a first-year player. You're going to earn your minutes. And if you don't earn them, then you're going to be sitting on the bench. So that defensive step, I think, was enormous. That was number one. And two, you bring up a good point because sometimes even great coaches might not be the perfect fit for a team. But I think because the Knicks organization and the Knicks team has been struggling so much, they need to have somebody to come in and really set a culture of no excuses. And he's been that guy. And, the Knicks fans in New York are so hungry and desperate just for a team that's competitive every night. And he's given them that. He has been perfect. Even the veterans love him. For example, a guy like Julius Randle, who's having an all-star season, in my opinion. He's never played in a playoff game. He's put up some good numbers on the Lakers, some good numbers on the Pelicans. He's never played in a playoff game. So now he wants a coach that's going to help him get to the playoffs. And he sees this guy come in, this Tom Thibodeau, and really demand that you play hard defensively, play unselfishly on the offensive end. And he's buying in because he's going to, whatever it takes, he wants to play in a playoff game.
And you think he could be even a long-term solution for the head coaching position of the New York Knicks?
Well, they signed him to a 5-year contract, so they believe that, and I do too. He's, he just knows, he knows what it takes in this league. And, it is a players' league, and the stars often dictate a lot what goes on. But most, even the elite players, they want to be coached. They want to have a coach that has them prepared every single night. And that's what you hear from all these Knicks players, is that they feel when they take the floor, they're really prepared for what the opponent is going to bring that night. They're really prepared for how to attack the opponent's defense because he's got it all under wraps in terms of the preparation going into it and the film work and the study and the scouting reports. You know, he's such a hard worker, and he's pressed that impressed that upon them that they need to do the same thing. So now players are watching more film than they've watched before. Players are working hard in practice. His first message to the team was, if you practice well, you play well. And a lot of players, kind of go through the motions of practice and then get pumped up for the game. But to really prepare yourself the right way, you have to practice well. And that's something that he enforces.
That's cool. I think pretty much the same way. You already mentioned Randall. He has obviously doing all-star kind of stats right now. He's playing great. He developed a little bit of a playmaking game, like a point forward. He has 6 assists. He's averaging 6 assists, but it's incredible. The whole game, in my opinion, is based on his strength. So he's the anchor of this team. Do you think, alongside RJ Barrett, who also made the next step, in my opinion, those 2 guys could be the new franchise players of the Knicks? Those 2 guys could be the guys to build a team around and to be even successful?
Well, you bring up a question that it's going to be key for the Knicks going forward. Now, RJ Barrett's only 20 years old. He's in his second year. He's made, as you said, a nice step, and Thibodeau's been a part of that. But also, RJ Barrett's work ethic has been a part of that. So he's going to be a part of the future. Julius Randle's an interesting case. Here's a guy that's having his best season by far. And if you would have asked me before the season, would he be on the team next year? I probably would have said no, that maybe they use him as trade because his contract's going to be up. And he is a guy that can help a lot of quality teams. But the way he has transformed his game, and he's only 26. It seems like he's such an older guy. He's only 26 because he has, as you said, he's become a point forward. He's making better decisions. He's in incredible shape. He's improved on his jump shot. He's much better on his three-pointer. And more importantly, he's not turning the ball over as much. Last year, I thought in some ways he wasn't ready to be the leader of a team. This year, with his off-season conditioning and with the guidance of Thibodeau and the staff, he has embraced that leadership role, and he's played well under it. So the Knicks will get some offers for him before the trading deadline because a lot of contenders, he'd be a perfect fit. Their question is, all right, do they hold on to him and they'll have to pay him a lot of money in the offseason, or do they use him as trade material? I think it's a key decision for the front office. But right now, the way he's playing, it'd be hard to trade him because I don't know where the Knicks would be without him. He has done a little bit of everything for them.
So your guess is that they'll keep him?
Yeah, I think, again, because he has this, for some reason, there's this thought that he's an older guy, but he's only 26, and he's always been a good rebounder. He's averaged double figures in rebounding. His shot has improved. Is he a little different than most fours in today's NBA? I wouldn't call him certainly a potent three-point shooter, but enough where he's acceptable if you leave him open. So I think because of the work he's done and how him and Tom Thibodeau have really connected, I think there's a really good chance that they'll keep him because it's hard to trade away players that average 22, 11, and 6, which I think what his numbers are right now.
Yeah. So up to the next one, there, alongside RJ Barrett, a lot of other very talented young guys like Mitchell Robinson, Emmanuel Quickly, even you can even count Kevin Knox to them. Do you think New York and the coach Tom Thibodeau is the right place for young guys to develop right now? Because you mentioned that, it is kind of, you have to earn your minutes, and he doesn't care, Tom Thibodeau, if you practice, if you're 29, 20, or whatever age you are. So you think it's the right place even for young guys to develop?
Absolutely. Emmanuel Quickly is a perfect example of that. Now, here Quickly comes in, and because of the way he worked in practice, because of the way he played in some of the preseason games, he earned his minutes. It wasn't just given to him because he was a first-round draft pick. He earned his minutes to become a part of the rotation, and he's become in many nights, he's become the point guard who closes the games in the fourth quarter. And, you know, Thibodeau had this reputation of not wanting to play rookies. But, you know, it's interesting, Alex. We talk about players that they improve in certain areas from year to year. They work on their games. They change their games. They make their improvement. We don't talk as much about coaches who do the same thing. And Tom Thibodeau, out of the game the past year, you know, he thinks about how can he get better. Coaches do the same thing. How can I become a better coach? They talk to other coaches. They look at films of other teams and how they run things. They talk to coaches on how they play young players as opposed to veterans. And coaches improve as well. And Tom Thibodeau has learned from his time in Chicago. He's learned from his time in Minnesota. And now he's a different coach. Certainly his core principles and the foundation are the same, but they change too. And I think he's the perfect coach for any team that wants to reach their potential, for any team that wants to play hard. Now, if you don't want to be coached hard, if you don't want to work hard in practice, and you don't want to have the demand of playing hard defensively every night, he's not your guy. But if you want to win and reach your potential, he's the perfect coach.
That was maybe the problem in Minnesota, why he was not successful there. Let's continue with the Knicks. There is Kevin Knox, there is Frank Ntilikina, and there was until 2 or 3 days ago, Dennis Smith Jr., Kevin Knox, 8th pick, Frank Ntilikina, 8th pick, 2017, 2018. 2 young guys who are out of the rotation right now. Other players like veterans like Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, Reggie Bullock, and Alfred Payton, they are playing in front of them. How do you see the situation of especially Knox, but also Ntilikina?
Well, Kevin Knox was given an opportunity to be a part of the rotation, and he was early on. In fact, and it wasn't just his three-point shooting, which is something the Knicks desperately need. He was their best three-point shooter the first couple of weeks, but defensively he has struggled at times. And Tom Thibodeau has said all along that he's going to put the players out there that give them the best chance to win that night. Now, you could say, well, that hurts the rebuilding process. That hurts the development of young players. But if the player is still developing in practice, if the player is still developing in terms of the minutes whenever he's called upon, that's important. There's more to developing a young player than just handing him minutes if he hasn't earned it. I think a big part of it is what it takes to win. And you have to see what it takes to win. And Kevin Knox, you know, earned his minutes early, wasn't playing as well. Others were playing better ahead of him. So now he's out of the rotation. That doesn't mean he's going to get back in there. But it will prove a lesson to him that, okay, maybe I was playing hard defensively 7 out of 10 nights. That's not going to cut it here in New York anymore. You've got to play hard defensively 10 out of 10. So I think there's more to development for a young player than just handing him minutes. Players have to learn what it takes to win in the NBA. As for Ntilikina, I've been a huge fan of Ntilikina since he started. He's not a flashy offensive player. That's just not who he is as a player. But he's a tremendous defensive player. He's a very team-first guy. His problem, quite frankly, more so has been injuries rather than anything. Anytime he seems like he gathers a little momentum and gains that confidence, he gets hurt. And it's not any season-ending injury in most cases, but it puts him out 2 or 3 weeks, and now he takes a step back, and it takes him a while to get in, and other guys take advantage of him being out. I know they love him defensively, but he's had trouble staying healthy. And Dennis Smith has been the same thing since they acquired him in the Kristaps Porzingis trade. He's been banged up as well. I really hope, because he's got such athleticism, I hope now that he's in Detroit, he can kind of rediscover his joy for the game. He had some personal things with his family last year, the death of a family member that really kind of got him off track, and it was hard for him with the pandemic, et cetera. So you hope a young man like that rediscovers his joy, gets an opportunity to play in Detroit, and can show his potential there.
And quickly to Derrick Rose. They acquired him now in a trade for Dennis Smith Jr. and a pick. It's his second stint in New York. In my opinion, his first stint was not that bad, like some people always say. He put up big numbers, to be honest, 18 points per game. He was shooting not good from the outside, but from the field it was okay. How do you think Derrick Rose fits into the New York Knicks system? Sure, he knows Thibodeau for a long time, but do you think it's a good fit, a good trade?
I do from this standpoint. If you watched at the end of close games, the Knicks offense, when they played against good defensive teams, the offense was basically hand the ball to Julius Randle and let him try and create. And although Randle has made great strides, when you're playing against a good defensive team and he's the number one guy that the defense focuses on, and he's the number one thing on their game plan defensively, it became difficult. And at the end of games that were close against these good defensive teams, it was a grind to even get off a quality shot. Now you put in a Derrick Rose, who has got the creativity, can beat people off the dribble, both for himself and for his teammates. That gives an extra option. And that's enormous down the end of close games. It was really hard. And Randle is seeing double teams every night. So from that standpoint, I think it really works. And also a key to this, Alex, is he's a former MVP he's only 32 years old, yet he's coming off the bench. And he's embraced that. A lot of times, guys who were stars, a declining star sometimes has trouble accepting that lesser role. But Derrick Rose has accepted it. Not only has he accepted it, he's embraced it to the point where he's okay coming off the bench, and he's okay being a mentor for these younger players. And Emmanuel quickly is such a sponge and wants to learn. They played for the same college coach, John Calipari, who coached Rose at Memphis and quickly at Kentucky, that I think he has a lot to offer. And, again, you can say, well, why are they playing a 32-year-old point guard over a younger point guard? But you just can't, again, just throw out minutes. That's not what player production is all about. You've got to be able to mix it with winning. And especially the Knicks organization, they've been so down for so long. They need to show the rest of the league, especially other free agents, that they're headed in the right direction. And if you want a free agent to come sign with them, and that's going to be a key for them to take the next step, they've got to look at the Knicks and say, hey, you know what? Knicks are pretty good. They're going in the right way. But if they're winning, 20, 22 games a year, there's no free agent that's really going to want to go there. The players today, the top players, they want to go where they have a chance to compete in the playoffs. And that's why Tom Thibodeau feels it's important to get a lot of wins, even if it means just squeaking into the play-in game in the 9th or 10th spot. You've got to show the rest of the league, the rest of the players, that you're a team that now is a team on the rise.
With all that being said, what could be the goal for the Knicks this season? There's a play-in tournament again, like in the bubble last year. So you think it's possible to reach the postseason this year for the Knicks?
I do. I do think that they have a chance for that play-in game. If it was the old top 8, I'm not so sure. But they're in the mix, and we're past 1/3 of the season in already. So it's not just some quick early start that they have a chance. And I would like to see them make that play-in game. I think, one of the important things for players is to learn what it's like in the playoffs. The playoffs in the NBA and the regular season, it's almost like two different sports. That's how intense it is. Everything is just raised a couple of levels. So I think anytime a player, whether it's a veteran or especially a young player, gets a chance to experience the postseason, that's something that I think benefits a franchise long term. So even if they're competitive and they come up short, okay, then they get another lottery pick, and they're going to have 2 picks in the first round. So they've got a chance to improve with some young players. But I know that the goal for the front office and the goal for the coaching staff, and always for the players, they want to make that play-in, they want to make the playoffs.
Ist schon nochmal was anderes. So einen, der so nah dran ist, tagtäglich mit den Knicks zu tun hat, in der Halle ist, dann zu hören, wie er zu einem Tom Thibodeau zum Beispiel steht. Ich glaube, den liebt er ein bisschen.
Ja, das stimmt. Ja. Also das hat man, glaube ich, genau rausgehört, dass er sehr zufrieden ist. Natürlich auch so ein bisschen als Knicks-Fan, dass da jetzt endlich mal ein Coach ist, der die Spieler richtig anpackt und sie fordert.
Aber alles in allem interessant zu hören, wie er die Knicks sieht, dass er sie auch positiv sieht. Also ich glaube, da können wir wirklich gespannt sein, wo es für die Knickerbocker in dieser Saison hingeht. Und in diesem Sinne, bis bald.